Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Okay, obviously, we have an incredible story on our hands. I want to thank everybody for their tremendous work all night, all morning, on television, on digital, on every platform. We're obviously going to be live with this story across the globe for the foreseeable future. Let me run through the schedule so everybody is aware of it. On television, to be simulcast on all of our platforms. John Berman and Allison Camerata will be on this morning from 8 to 11 a.m. Anderson Cooper and Aaron Burnett will pick up our coverage from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. And then Wolf Blitzer, Jake Tapper, Dana Bash, John King, and Anderson will continue from 2 p.m. until probably midnight, but we'll make that determination later in the day. Again, everybody, I just want to thank for a terrific job. I want to say that clearly, as we have outlined for quite some time now, and as we said all along, no one knows anything. Let the votes decide. Let the voters decide. And the road to 270 was the key. I feel very good that we established that those were the two key storylines, and they remain the two key storylines. The big themes that we have got to continue to drill in on are that we are at a historic moment. There is no winner yet, and there are razor-thin margins in many uncalled states. And it comes down to these 6 states. And we actually have a long way to go for either candidate to achieve 270 electoral votes, but either one can, and both have paths, and we need to continue to point that out. And the question is, when will the outstanding votes be counted in these key states? How many are uncounted? How many are absentee ballots? And then, of course, the inevitable next steps legally for the campaigns. Do we go into recounts? Do we go into legal challenges? And then, of course, from the White House, Trump's false and destructive declarations of victory, citing baseless fraud, with Joe Biden urging patience. Of course, the other story is the makeup of Congress and the Senate and the House. Obviously, the Democrats retain control of the House. It looks like the Republicans will probably retain control of the Senate, and we do need to follow those storylines. I want to let everybody know that more people around the world have been following CNN than any other news organization in the world, both on television here in the United States. It's been an extraordinary day and night, and in digital, as you'll hear, yesterday was the second biggest day in the history of CNN Digital, and today is already on pace to be the biggest day in the history of CNN Digital. With that, let me turn it over to David Chalian.
Good morning, Jeff. I'm sorry if I'm a few things that I'll be repetitive on, but obviously I think the big broad thing here, we are a deeply divided nation with a presidential race hanging in the balance. And as you said, our entire posture is that we are still in an election posture with millions of ballots still to be counted. You know that we have 9 states that still haven't been projected: Arizona, Nevada, Wisconsin, Maine, Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Alaska. You noted, as we had talked about, the road to 270, and that both people had paths going in. In our lead up, you also heard us on this call every day over the last week or two and all weekend long into Election Day, that Donald Trump's path to re-election was a narrow one and depended on explosive Election Day turnout. And he certainly got his voters out to the polls yesterday, which keeps his path alive. As you said, both candidates have a path here. That big turnout on Election Day of his supporters also helped Senate Republicans hang on in some very close races, and House Republicans make some critical gains in their attempt to narrow Nancy Pelosi's majority. We'll see, of course, how that all shakes out when all those races come in and all those votes are counted. Joe Biden's camp believes that all that banked absentee mail-in vote, their explosive turnout, if you will, as all of that gets counted, that they'll be able to overtake Donald Trump's lead in Michigan and perhaps in Pennsylvania and perhaps expand their margin a bit in Nevada. The Michigan Secretary of State this morning said that there are hundreds of thousands of ballots still to be counted from Democratic areas, and that she expects to know the real state of the race there by the end of the day, she said on New Day this morning. As you noted, Jeff, and I also think, in Pennsylvania, we're expecting to hear at 10:30 this morning from the governor and Secretary of State there about what is outstanding there and when we can expect those outstanding votes to be counted. I know it's a different kind of an election result to watch come in, and I just think we have to constantly remind our audiences as we learn about the outstanding vote. And if indeed we learn that outstanding vote is largely vote by mail, that has been where Joe Biden has been able to rack up advantage, where he has been able to do so in this race. And if that is what remains to be counted, in some places like Pennsylvania, he was winning the mail vote in sort of a 79-21 kind of way. If that's, how the rest comes in, it's even being as far behind Donald Trump as he is, it is possible, not definite, but it is possible that he could even overcome that kind of deficit in Pennsylvania. So I just think we have to constantly be drilling home what we know about the way this mail vote has split, because if that ends up being as it looks to be in a lot of these places, what is outstanding, and especially so if it is from bigger population-centered Democratic areas, that is what is, giving the Biden folks some confidence, and why the Trump people who are not Donald Trump, which I'll get to in a moment, around him, just eager to get all these votes counted. So apart from the waiting for the votes to be counted, which is the bulk of our focus, obviously, the president's remarks this morning about stopping the counting and going to the Supreme Court and declaring the election fraudulent obviously should continue to be declared as out of bounds and totally false. It certainly drew a swift rebuke from Biden's campaign manager in a strongly worded statement this morning when Jen O'Malley Dillon said that was a statement tonight by the president about trying to shut down the counting of duly cast ballots, and it was outrageous, unprecedented, and incorrect, and a naked effort to take away the democratic rights of citizens. You noted, Jeff, the other key thing that is now underway is the legal teams in both of these campaigns who have, as we have been reporting in the buildup to the election, have been getting at the ready, and they are so with all those sort of recount and contest rules with so many razor-thin races. Obviously, the potential legal action and how they are deploying as they follow the initial canvas of votes that's happening right now is an important storyline. I believe Bob Bauer, who is running election protection efforts for the Biden campaign, is doing a Washington Post Live event at 1 p.m., so perhaps we will hear more from him on that there. And I know, I'm sure people on this call, there are a whole slew of storylines that are out there about the electorate and what it looked like, Joe Biden's performance with Latinos, of course, in Florida, but also more broadly in Nevada and Arizona and Georgia and elsewhere. Performance with voters of color more broadly, especially men of color, and Donald Trump's 4 years worth of effort to make some inroads in the communities of color. And again, that is specifically in his anti-socialist appeal in South Florida, all makes for really good conversation, as does the conversation about clearly the polling industry is in a world of hurt and is going to need some dramatic overhauling. But it seems to me that those conversations can be held for another day. For right now, we are still in this mode of millions of votes are being counted, and we are still in sort of results election mode. And I think that is where we start.
Thank you, David. Virginia, is there anything you want to add?
So only two things are just to note on the president's remarks, Christie coming out and saying there, as a former AG, there's no reason to make that statement. And then the other thing, just overall, it was a remarkably, smooth sailing in terms of vote counting across the country. Like there were, it's not like there were major pockets of problems anywhere. So just as we go into this next phase, that just seemed to be so much better than some might have expected.
Okay. I do want to add, David alluded to this, and I talked about it earlier, two things. I do want to make sure that at some point we hit the makeup of the House and the Senate, because that's obviously going to become an important part in governing with all of this. And we obviously cannot underplay the outrageousness of Donald Trump's comments and posture in all of this. Any thoughts on the election that people want to bring up?
Jeff, a small thing just on watching it the last couple of hours is it's a little weird to never see the national popular vote or hear about it. So I just wonder if that should go into the rotation with the states we're still fighting over.
We can. That doesn't really matter, but we can add it.
I know. I just think that people expect to know how the country voted overall, and it's not going to get discussed, and it's not getting seen. That's it.
Yeah, okay. Duly noted. Thank you. Duly noted.
One more thing, Jeff. We just sent the voting team just sent out an update of these states and exactly where the vote is and what we're expecting in the counting. So just for everybody to have in their inbox.
Great. Thank you. Other thoughts?
Hey, Jeff, it's Marcus. I'm just interested in the president's, we've all called out, everyone's called out, all anchors have called out the president's outrageous statements, of course, about not wanting votes to be counted, which is excellent. I just wonder about, I'm sure we'll stay on top of the reporting, but I just wonder about the next moves in the court. We've only heard Chris Christie, as Virginia said, speak out against what the president said. I still wonder about the president's team's plans in courts to actually move, and not the Supreme Court, but in lower courts, to move to have those legitimately cast votes not counted. And we've covered in the last weeks efforts and plans by some of the president's allies in the state, especially Pennsylvania, in that regard. But I just wonder if we keep on top of that and see if there's movement or news on it as we go forward.
Okay.
I just want to note, following what Marcus said, that Marco Rubio did tweet out that all legally cast votes must be counted. I'm paraphrasing his tweet, but that was there. I do think we're going to see a lot of the senators today, I would assume, the ones that won especially. And obviously that would be, if we can get near any of them and ask questions, depending on where they are. I don't know if they're in their home states or any of them are potentially in D.C., but I do think we need to ask every senator we can find to try to get on the record on that question.
And also the Republican governors, any of the Republican governors who lead those states that are still counting votes. We need to get them on the record as well.
Yes, I absolutely agree with that. That's true, Janita. But I'm saying not even in states where they're still counting votes. I'm just saying to get senators, Republicans and Democrats, all the senators, as many as we can, on the record on continuing to count until all legally cast votes are counted.
Jeff, I just wanted to ask David, is there's still, we talk about pass, are there still a potential pass for the Democrats to win the Senate? And if so, how do we explain it as well as we've been explaining the presidential pass?
Yeah, I mean, just like we have a road to 270 game in match wall, we also have, a road to Democratic control of what they needed if they were to take the majority. And, clearly there are still a lot of uncalled races. There is a path, but clearly some of the key components to the path that Democrats saw initially, like the Iowa Senate race, have fallen away from them. So, Maine not looking exactly. So the paths have narrowed, but it's there. I don't think we could, especially because we haven't yet determined if the Purdue off-off race goes to a runoff or not. At my last checking, I don't think we've projected that. So there are, but again, I think the story of the Senate is that the Republicans in some of the close races were able to hang on and therefore complicate Democrats' path to the majority.
And I also think we're also going to have to keep an eye on the. We're also going to have to keep an eye on the Michigan Senate race because Peters is down right now, but obviously we know there's some votes outstanding in Michigan, so that's going to become a very interesting race as well. So, look, my view is the interest is principally in who's going to be president, and Congress is a secondary story, and we'll get to it. We'll get to it later today, but we should, show what the probable makeup of it is. The reality is the Republicans had a better night in Congress than they expected, and we'll have to show that as well. Thus far, let's see what happens. But
Jeff, on the Rubio tweet, I think the operative word there is legally, and the sides disagree about what constitutes a legally cast vote. And that's really what this is coming down to. Several days.
Yeah, he's being cute. Other thoughts? Anybody else? Okay, I'm going to skip ahead now to digital and Meredith.
Hey, so we are, as you said, Jeff, on our way in progress to our all-time #1 day in the history of digital. The record to break is the day after the 2016 election. That day was 77.5 million uniques. This morning at 9 a.m., we broke 50 million uniques. So we are going to beat that record. It's incredible. Audiences are very clearly with us, and we thought 2016 was huge. 66.7 million uniques yesterday, our second biggest day of all time. Again, like you said, Jeff, that easily surpassed 2016 election day, which was 58 million. So we beat that. The DLE got over 17 million uniques just on its own, the presidential DLE, and it tipped over 300,000 concurrents. So just to put that in context, 17 million uniques is something that a lot of our competitor sites would love to just have as a total audience. And tipping over 300,000 concurrents, which it's about to do again this morning, remember, it's good when something's over 10,000 concurrents. The DLE tipped over 300,000 concurrents. The Road to 270 map on its own got about 8 million uniques. More if you start counting in the international versions and all of that. So that just on its own was a destination. The top video for all of yesterday on desktop and mobile web was Van Jones saying that the fact that it's this close hurts. And on app, the top video is was yesterday, watch Trump falsely claim victory. This morning, #1 is the presidential DLE with about 250,000 concurrents and rising fast. The map, the Road to 270 interactive map, is 200,000 concurrents and rising fast. Trump's call to halt the vote count is his most brazen swipe at democracy yet. That's Collinson. That is 12,000 concurrents. And our Senate and House DLE is 11,000 concurrents. Oliver's story on news anchors calling out Trump for his speech last night is the other story in the top 10 Everything else is variations of the DLE and the maps and audiences hungry for data and just digging in and finding out where things are. That's really the bulk of our top 5 and top 10 this morning. That's it. I'll stop there.
Yeah, good. Thank you, Meredith. I just want to make sure, I want to emphasize what Meredith talked about there, is the numbers of people who have been with us on our digital platforms yesterday and today are extraordinary. There's no other news and information outlet in the world that has anything approaching this. And it is a tribute to the trust that people have in CNN. And I can tell you that audiences have been with us in a tremendous way on television. When you combine those two things, the world is relying on CNN to tell them what's happened here. And so I want to emphasize how important we have to continue to be in following the storylines, the road to 270, what's still left to do, what's still left to count, and continue to just tell the story and follow the votes. And also continue to play error-free ball like everybody has on television and across all of our social media. This story is far from over. And so I want to continue to emphasize we've done a terrific job. The world is with us. The world is relying on us. Let's continue to deliver for them. I went over the schedule so everybody is aware. Again, we're on with our current show until 11 a.m. Anderson Cooper and Aaron Burnett will pick up at 11 a.m. And then Wolf Blitzer, Jake Tapper, Dana Bash, Abby Phillip, John King, and Anderson Cooper will pick up then at 2 p.m., probably until midnight, but we'll determine that later today.
Hey, Jeff, it's David.
Yes, David.
I just want to say this is for guidance only. This is not to be reported, but we have been given guidance that Joe Biden will be giving remarks now this afternoon. We don't have a firm time of that yet, but it could be early afternoon. Just wanted to make folks aware that's guidance only, not to be reported.
Great. Thank you. I do think that another storyline later in the day that CNN is uniquely positioned to report is the world is watching as well. CNN is positioned around the world, and Christiane Amanpour and others can certainly help us and get at that. But the world is watching what is going on in the United States, obviously with great interest. Are there any other thoughts? So everybody, please pace yourself. We've got a long way to go. There's much to be covered here. Please take care of yourselves. Please get some rest. Please pace yourself. Let's continue to play error-free ball and continue to deliver as we have. I can't tell you how proud I am of the organization. Let's keep going. Have a good day, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.